he pushed Chris Bumstead at the finals. And Dennis actually even believed that if they gave it to Mike Sommerfeld, it would not be a bad decision.
If there's one guy that can become a global hero in bodybuilding, is this guy. I have seen him in Brazil. He got beat by the new guy, Matthew Grego. And before this victory, Matthew Grego had won the New York Pro, but his competition was not that great over there.
Athletes and fans around the world, welcome to another episode of Primetime Muscle. I'm Tim Wilkins, joined today. I'm going to start with Milos the Mind Sarcev. Nice to see you.
Good to see you guys back. Always excited to be in the studio.
Tarek Elgindi.
Great to be here. I think in the last couple weeks, we had tremendous knowledge. Milos has come in and has put great experiences about bodybuilding, about training. His mentality is unmatched. And I'm excited to have him again this week.
Well, we're going to be talking, we judged, you commented on that video quite a while ago about picking you as one of the greatest classic physiques of all time. Although there was no such category as classic physique, they were just the physiques that we look back on to build this generation of classics.
Yes, and we called them classic. We called Frank Zanes and Serge Nubres and then Lila Brada, Francis Benfaro, Thierry Pastel, many of those guys, those classic, aesthetic, beautiful physiques. And as we start straying away with the coming of Dorian Yates in 1993, basically, we went into mass monsters and open bodybuilding went sideways. I think that some purists wanted to bring back the classic, and we have a new category that is very popular, refreshing. I'm all for it. I still don't understand exactly the weight cut. I think that weight cut should be moving progressively, maybe every so many years.
Up? It should be going up?
Yeah, I mean, because I tell you this, I've seen a lot of super classic looking physiques that could not make the cut. And you guys chose me to be a classic GOAT. I could not make the cut for the life of me.
Well, it's a good point. The thing about bodybuilding is, you chase whoever is winning, right? And if you have Big Ramy winning the Olympia, what happens? You talk to Brandon Curry, he's going to say, I got to get bigger. You talk to Jay Cutler, Dennis James, Dexter Jackson. They all had to chase Ronnie Coleman. And in open bodybuilding, those guys are huge. If you don't have a weight cut in the classic physique, the tendency is for guys to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And at some point, it's going to compromise the waist. If you look at Derek Lunsford, when he turned pro, 2017 USA's, his waist was smaller than it is right now. Now, he made a lot of money in open bodybuilding. His career is perfect, but his waist has expanded, just like Nick Walker, just like some of those guys. And when we're talking about Ramon Dino and Mike Sommerfeld, for us to keep that classic look, we're going to have to keep their weight down. If you let Ramon explode and he goes to 300 pounds, trust me, he's not going to have this waist.
So you bring up those two guys.
Yeah.
Chris Bumstead held that throne for 7 years, 6 years?
6 years.
Six years, and now it's a vacant throne. And it's not a title you hand down to the son of the king.
Yes.
You have to earn it. Mike Sommerfeld, after last year's second to Chris, who a lot of people thought should have had it, and then that dominant Arnold Classic, looks like the guy.
Well, my co-host in the Old School podcast, Daniel James, said about Mike long ago, before we even actually had him on the show, that if this guy is put together, he has that shape and structure that is just going to dominate. I didn't expect to say that he pushed Chris Bumstead at the finals. And Dennis actually even believed that if they gave it to Mike Sommerfeld, it would not be a bad decision. This is how good Mike is. Just about perfect structure for bodybuilding and for classic.
Well, we have to know a little bit how Mike Sommerfeld came to the scene. The first time he competed right here in this area was in Tijuana. And in that show, he beat Urs Kalecinski. Okay, so he actually started, came out to the scene as a guy that was ahead of Urs Kalecinski. Urs surpassed him in the following Olympia with better conditioning. You know, Urs is a great bodybuilder, but Mike Sommerfeld was falling into 8th place, 7th place. He was like a good top 10, but he wasn't getting a first call out. Then at this past Mr. Olympia, when he came in for his individuals, we all looked at each other and we said, this guy might be running for the title. What was the difference? It was his conditioning. His lines were still the same. His amount of muscle, he was always a guy that had a lot of muscle. He has that V taper and everything. His conditioning was better. He displayed the same conditioning at the Arnold, and I believe he's now consistent. If he puts that together at the Olympia, he might be considered the favorite. Why do we have the picture of Ramon here? Because he's a freak. He's a freak, and he's going to put on a battle against Sommerfeld.
Now, Ramon was the one when Chris was up there, and you think, where was Sommerfeld? It was Chris, Ramon, Urs, Breon, and who was in that 5th spot for the longest time, in and out? Wesley popped in there 1 year. But it was a battle that Mike wasn't in.
Yeah, no, Mike Sommerfeld was not in. I think it was Terrence Ruffin. He fell to 5th place on that Olympia. Mike Sommerfeld was a perennial 7th place, 8th place, a guy that we liked, but we didn't think he had the conditioning to be on the first call out. The most impressive thing about Mike Sommerfeld and where he's going to beat Ramon, I say this categorically, he's going to beat Ramon, is his lats. He's got a better set of lats that come down to the waist than Ramon. Ramon has a little bit of high lats, and his weakness is the back. Ramon needed to have a better back. On this one, Sommerfeld is going to win, and Sommerfeld also has the flaring quads, which is the classic look. Where is Ramon going to get him? Ramon is going to get Mike Sommerfeld on the guns, right? I mean, look at those guns. He's going to beat everybody. He actually beat Chris Bumstead on the guns, and he has some freaky poses. But this is going to be a battle of better structure, better body parts, great conditioning. 2023, his conditioning was impeccable. 2024, it wasn't. I think these guys are going to come real close, and it's going to be a very close decision.
Okay, structurally, yes. When you see that V-taper, front double, back double, you know, it's going to always be that flare for Mark Sommerfeld, right? So in classic physique, I wish there are more poses. I don't understand why they're not all the mandatory poses from open bodybuilding into the classic. It's still the same sport. Lat spread would make a lot of sense. Side triceps would make a lot of sense. And if you remember, Chris Bumstead enjoyed doing a most muscular shot in Prague more than anything else, and he talked about it. So all those guys in their soul, still bodybuilders, give them some more poses. But as far as comparison that you said, V-taper should be more classic, right? You say if you have V-taper, then you have the differential flare, but these legs cover the upper body. That can be open bodybuilding legs.
Those are massive legs.
Massive legs. So he's pushing to that 212 class or even open bodybuilding. It's still classic, and I do think that he's absolute favorite. Ramon, I've seen him peeled out of his mind. And if he can bring this on a stage, he would be contender. He doesn't have that V-taper, but I'll tell you this. When Chris Bumstead beat Breon, and there was George Peterson, that 1 year, it made zero sense to me that he won. Because in every other aspect, V-taper, muscle, back double, arms, you know, those guys beat him. But they said classic is not classic bodybuilding, it's classic physique, it's more structure. You know, so that's how he beat him. That was the structure of Ramon. That Chris, before he made those crazy improvements in his back, it's about Ramon's condition and size.
Well, since I'm the establishment, Milos, and you and I are gonna fight here. Now, taking consideration, I'm not Bob or Giles. I'm gonna go all the way here. The reason we have different poses, the reason we have different shorts, is to create a different element to the pro league, okay? Yeah, you can have Brandon Hendrickson, men's physique champion, hit a front double biceps. You can have Andrea Shaw or Alora Lee Chapados hit a side chest. But the industry has grown because we've created a variety of categories where people felt comfortable competing. At the UFC, when it started, they didn't have a weight category. It was Royce Gracie against the heaviest guy. The sport was not as big as it is right now. You spend 8 hours in a tight suit at T-Mobile Arena watching guys that are small, and then it goes to the heavyweight,
Yes.
and then it goes to the middleweight. That has made the sport bigger. So I got you on that one. When it comes to Breon Ansley against Chris Bumstead, I'll give you credit. That was a very close decision. Some judges had Breon Ansley beating Chris Bumstead, especially on the back. On the back shot, Breon Ansley really killed Chris Bumstead, and he had him. Now, I think it's going to come to these two guys. You think Sommerfeld is more of a favorite than Ramon, and I'm going to agree with you. Based on what I've seen in the last two shows, I think Sommerfeld might be ahead of Ramon in terms of being the favorite.
I would say so, absolutely. I mean, Arnold Classic champion, close second at Olympia with this structure and now nail conditioning, he should be a favorite. Let's keep in mind, Logan Franklin showed up at Arnold Classic and out-conditioned, good condition, Mark Sommerfeld. So there are levels. I've seen that Ramon can reach that level of dryness to the bone. And if he brings that with this separation, good legs, good arms, good abs, I think he can be a contender.
All right, we're going to circle back and we're going to stay in Classic Physique for this entire episode. We got a couple other guys to discuss, but when we get to this next segment, I want to ask you both something very interesting, not just about this competitor, but about the mindset behind a lot of the guys across a lot of divisions, but especially Classic. And that's going to be to gain or not to gain in an offseason and what that looks like. We're going to talk about that and Urs Kalecinski, the Miracle Bear, when we come back. All right, big fan favorite, guys, the Miracle Bear. Urs Kalecinski had a decent year last year. There's an interesting balance at the Olympia, at any show, but he showed up and you say, okay, you put on a lot of size, but by the time you cut it up, was it quality size and what did you really gain? He was upsized. He definitely looked improved, but he's taken a full year off now, I think, to really buckle down and dial in those gains.
I'm going to say something about Urs Kalecinski, and I say this with a lot of conviction. We had an icon in bodybuilding, Chris Bumstead, who reached 25 million views. He was an icon. He brought so many people to the industry. I love Ramon. I love Sommerfeld. I love Derek. I love Nick Walker. I love those guys. And I think if there's one guy that can become a global hero in bodybuilding is this guy. I have seen him in Brazil. I've seen him in Europe, in the United States. There's something about Urs Kalecinski that people love. And I think he can be the next Chris Bumstead. Now, in order for him to do that, he needs to win the Olympia. I knew Chris Bumstead before he won the Olympia. He was at check-ins with his sister. Nobody was asking him for an autograph or a picture. He was a competitor that had won his pro card and competed a few times in Classic. It was him winning the Olympia that became the superstar, the icon. If this guy goes on to win the Olympia, Classic Physique, he can be as popular as Chris Bumstead. What are the flaws on his physique? Potential flaws. His clavicles are not as wide as some of these guys, especially Mike Sommerfeld, Chris Bumstead. Him and Ramon tend to be a little bit more narrow on top. Now, it's you can consider that a flaw, right? But you can also say that they can be more dense on the side poses. Phil Heath didn't have large clavicles, right? And he was able to surpass that. So I think Urs Kalecinski has taken a lot of time off. I just saw him in Pittsburgh. He looks like the son of Marcus Rule. He's huge. He looked freaking huge. Can he make the weight look huge on stage and now shock the world? I'm a believer. But since he took fourth on that year, and Chris Bumstead said, I think this is the next guy, he has lost a little bit of momentum. Ramon has surpassed him. Mike Sommerfeld has surpassed him. He needs to respond at this Olympia.
Yes, you see, I saw him win that Chicago Pro back in the day. This is how I got introduced to him. You have to love the guy. He has that energy about him. That's why he's so popular. I agree with you. He's popular all over the world, globally. In Brazil, I've seen the videos. In Europe, I mean, Germany, you can imagine. How about Poland? He's a household name. He has everything, but as you said, once you come closing in, he looked kind of Chris Bumsteadish when they were competing and they were next to each other. You could kind of compare. But then those flaws, narrow clavicles and not enough flare in the lats, and then not such big arms. Fortunately, Chris Bumstead didn't have a great arms, so they were very comparable. But now you put him next to Ramon that has that crazy arms, and you put him next to Sommerfeld that has a crazy V-taper. Urs needs more. I talked to him in 2023. I saw him in a gym before the Olympia, and he was all convinced he's going to win it. And I touched his lats, say, Urs, you still need some more. And he was kind of offended. But his big brother telling him, he still needs more lats, he still needs more arms. Legs are out of this world. I mean, those legs, those calves, separation, Jesus Christ. Glutes, I'm not a glute guy, but when you see this thing going on, it's like, he is now much bigger, trained probably with Marcus Rule a few times, put a tremendous amount of size. Now you think if he can squeak down into the weight, it's big danger. Because once you have to make the weight and you need to lose another 10 pounds or 12 pounds or 15 pounds and you think it's going to be easy, it's not going to be.
That's my question for you. So now, back in the day, and you mentioned this on a previous episode, where I forget who you were talking about, but the old guest posers, after a show, they would take 6 months to a year off, and they would turn into water buffaloes. Yeah. They'd just come out, take off their shirts to guest pose, sweat. The promoters would be mad. The people in the audience would say, "What happened to that guy?" But it was a growth phase. I still see a few guys doing that. They come off season, and they're going to put on 40, 50, 60 pounds. They're going to gain 8 to 10 net and have to take off 40 pounds.
It never made sense to me. I mean, you're a bodybuilder not for that short time on the stage. You're 24 hours a day, 12 months a year. I was talking once with Fuad, and we were he says she likes big and powerful and all this. Yeah, but if you look in the mirror and you can't see the abs for a life of you, what's the point? There is nothing like being close to contest shape. I mean, when you move and your abs, intercostals and legs and quads and glutes and are firing up, that's beautiful. So classic physique makes zero sense for me to bulk up.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I would love to see Urs come in and win the Olympia. I think if Sommerfeld wins the Olympia, it's going to be magical. I mean, you're talking about Germany is a huge market. There's history in the German bodybuilding, Marcus Rule, Dennis Wolf, some of these guys. Ramon, right? Brazil would go crazy. So it is a vacant place. We don't have Chris Bumstead. Let me go on record here. He's going to come back. I talked to him in Pittsburgh. Mark my words. Chris Bumstead is going to come back. He won't come back as classic. He's going to come back in bodybuilding, and a lot of you guys are going to write it down.
Wow.
I think whoever wins this title, it's a huge responsibility because he's the guy that is going to replace Chris Bumstead. And whoever that is going to have to hold on to that title for dear life, because I don't see a disparity between Ramon, Urs, Mike Sommerfeld as I saw with Chris. You know, Chris in the last 2 years, Ramon came close, Sommerfeld came close. But Chris was quite dominant for many years. I think these guys are very close, and we could see in Classic what we see in bodybuilding. Mike Sommerfeld wins one show, 1 year, Ramon wins another year, then Urs comes in. We could see that.
Here's one of the reasons I need Urs to potentially win. Because whoever wins Classic Physique Olympia becomes the fashion icon for the sport. And you'll have a million guys across the country, if not the world, with a little tousle of blonde hair. It'll wipe off the 12 million porn stashes that have been floating around the country for 7 years.
You're right.
God, I love the kid. I'm happy for him. But the 70s, 80s porn stash that every guy in my gym and every Classic Physique competitor has had for the last 6 years, thinking, screw my body, as long as I got this, I'm a champion.
Well, listen, he's so personable. Everybody loved it. I called him Billy Idol. That was a Billy Idol look, right? And I don't know, some kind of cartoon character. I don't
Max
follow.
Headroom, and there was,
I don't know, but
Johnny Bravo.
He is so lovable, and he brings it, and he brings that energy on the stage. He just needs a little bit more improvements. He can nail the conditioning, like, oh my God, this kind. So it's going to be a battle. I agree with you. Back in the day, we had a Dorian. I mean, first Lee Haney, 8 years, and then Dorian, 6 years, and then Ronnie, and then Jay, and then Phil. And those were like dynasties. And then after that, there was interchanging Big Ramy, the Brendan Curry, and Heidi, and Derek. So I don't see anybody in the Classic Physique just dominating straight. It's going to be mix and match. I mean, Logan Franklin is coming in. Terence Ruffin is
Looks
great.
amazing.
Kalecinski, Sommerfeld. The Ramon is going to be a dogfight. Matt Grego.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Matt Grego.
Might have been might have been the greatest segue. I really feel like Chris is going to come back. I'm going to lose my anchor job. Mm-hmm. I feel like if I'm not really careful and don't step up my suit game, Milos is going to be in the center seat.
Milos is very well dressed. He's an intellectual in bodybuilding. His presence is iconic. He is the mind. He's very respected. I do miss Chris sometimes, but it's like very small, period of time.
Is it over?
It's over.
Okay. So I was hoping the moment was gone because we do miss Chris. All right. When we come back, we are going to talk about Matt Grego. And we just briefly touched on Terence Ruffin, who I think this year made his statement. He took that year off and came back strong and reminded everybody, this is who I am. But we're going to talk about Matt Grego, the incredible conditioning he brought to his qualification when we come back on Primetime Muscle. All right, one of my favorite guys, Matt Grego, who has made a huge statement in his last couple shows. Detroit brought the conditioning.
Yeah, he beat Wesley Vissers, and I think he sent a message to the industry, I have arrived. Now, prior to that, he was at the Arnold. Wesley Vissers missed his peak, and Matthew Grego ended up right there in the top three at the Arnold. Then he goes to Detroit, and Wesley Vissers is vastly improved, but Matthew Grego still beats him. Matthew had won the New York Pro before, and that's when I started looking at his physique. I think he made a mistake not competing in Pittsburgh. He was sitting there. He's 23, 24. Terence Ruffin is there. Hosema is there. And I'm thinking to myself, you're in shape. You just did Detroit. Talk about a show that you can go pose right next to Terrence Ruffin, take his heart out in front of everybody, and let people know, hey, I just beat Terrence Ruffin right here in Pittsburgh. So I think he made a mistake. He did the guest posing with Ramon and all those guys, but it's like Milos said, sometimes competing against the best guys puts you there.
Well, and Milos, you said on various episodes, just competing sometimes puts you in front of the judges and keeps you top of mind. He gave Josema an opportunity at that show to get top of mind with the judges.
Yeah, Jose Manuel Moniz. That's another name that's going to be household. This guy doesn't get peeled; he gets ultra peeled. I mean, he made Terrence Ruffin's great conditioning look like average. So that's another guy that we have to throw in. But as far as Matt Grego, he's a training partner of Derek Lansford. He's coached by Chris Aceto. He has improved tremendously in the last year. So him skipping the contest, maybe he wanted to focus on Derek because Derek was competing in Pittsburgh. So God knows. I mean, they're training partners. Maybe that was a mutual decision. Matt Gregor is here to stay and make a statement. He's as classic as they come. I don't think there was a question between him and Wesley Weisers. Wesley was Arnold Classic champ from last year, and he made it pretty easy work once they were competing.
So let's look at these pictures. Now, Wesley did make a big splash with the Arnold last year. Was it Arnold UK?
No, he beat Ramon. Ramon was the clear favorite. He was the champion. And Ramon got ambushed by the best Wesley Vissers ever. Wesley came in condition. Like Milo said, the leaner you are, the better you look. You even look bigger when you're leaner. And he ambushed Ramon, made a name for himself. We all got on his bandwagon. We thought he was going to come to the Olympia and challenge Chris Bumstead. He fell to 8th place. Here, he looked better than the Arnold, but he got beat by the new guy, Matthew Grego. And before this victory, Matthew Grego had won the New York Pro, but his competition was not that great over there. This is the show that he beats a guy who won the Arnold. Now, you can see the arms of Wesley Visser, impressive, but I'm going to say, hey, right here, the quads, the flaring quads, and then this guy has a thickness to him, which I like. Stop this right here. Stop this. Correct me if I'm wrong right here, guys. And this is me probably going back in history. I like the thickness on the leg. I like the thickness on the chest. He kind of reminds me on the face a little bit on Bill Pearl. Do you see that? Or am I tripping?
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
Or is it maybe Bob Harris?
What is his weakness? What does he have to improve? His back. His back is not as good as his side poses or his front poses. Roll the tape on his back.
Well, and I know we're between here, but delts could definitely pop because Sommerfeld's delts are huge. But like you said a minute ago, 23, 24 years old, you got a lot of runway.
And then let's stop on the back double biceps.
Oh, Wesley's...
Yeah.
Maybe go a little further. Yeah.
There, beautiful.
Yeah. There is a lot of detail here. I mean, I like that and appreciate hamstring glute tie-ins, sweeping ties, hamstring is happening. He doesn't have a width of a lats like Wesley does. And when you mentioned with Wesley beat Ramon at that Arnold Classic, that was a thing determining factor. Because once they turn around and open up and there was that crazy flare and the width, that's where he beat Ramon.
No, Milos, you're over there. Look at where his feet are, right next to each other.
Yeah.
You see the external rotation of the knees there to get a little bit of a sweep, but you could offset those feet. He's got the left foot cranked over just a little, but he could be opening that up enough to get a little bit more sweep in those quads that pop around the hams.
Yeah.
I think he's got it. He just needs a little bit of posing would help that too.
Unfortunately, I don't think so.
No?
Unfortunately, I don't think so. I mean, we know what he did with this foot position. I don't know. You can't see it. He tried to bring this sweep out, but this is as much as he got.
Yeah.
So he needs more legs.
Yeah, he needs more legs, definitely. When you don't have legs, you try to create the illusion of the size. He didn't have it. Again, for me, this is way too much space. If I can, crawl in between your legs, you're putting them too much apart. Yeah, he needs more size. I offer him to come and train legs with me in the torture gym. I don't know if he's going to accept it. But we're talking about Matt Grego. A little bit more lats and a little bit better conditioning, and he's going to be Olympia contender.
But
sure.
I'm telling you right now, based on what we've seen from Sommerfeld, Ramon, Terrence Ruffin, Josema, who hit a back double biceps in Pittsburgh and scared the hell out of people. If he comes in with this back at the Olympia, he might be out of the top 10. I need a better back here.
Yeah.
And I talked to Matthew. I said, Matthew, get some of that back from Derek Lunsford, okay? Get some of that back from Derek Lunsford and put it right here. I put the pressure on him. I say, you can be Olympia Classic Physique champion, but you need to get a better back, because once Sommerfeld hits a back double biceps, next to Terrence Ruffin, next to Ramon, next to Urs Kalecinski, next to Josema, and he's right there, he's going to get exposed. He needs to go back to Florida and hammer this back and improve as much as possible before the Olympia. From the front, he's top 5. From the back, I need to see a little bit more.
You're the judge. You called it. I 100% agree with you.
Let's roll it through here. I love that on Wesley, though. That Wesley definitely took this pose. If you're going waist up, that is phenomenal development.
Look at Wesley's striation of the deltoids, the tie-in of a deltoid, brachialis, bicep, triceps. I mean, that's like top notch.
The peak on the bicep.
Yeah, this it doesn't get better than that. When he turns around and does the most muscular, his front delt has a striation. That's ultimate conditioning. I love it. He needs considerably bigger legs to be in the mix.
All right, we'll roll this forward and look out and see where Grego pulled ahead.
So right here, Wesley Vissers wins this pose despite losing on the legs, right? Because it is back double biceps. Now they're going to turn and hit an abdominals and thighs, and this is where the flaring quads are going to come in favor of Matthew Grego.
With a vacuum pose.
Now hit the abs. He's hitting the abs, Milos. Yeah. He's hitting the abs, and then they're showing the vacuum. And then here's the classic physique pose, which a lot of people ask me, do you guys really judge the classic physique pose? Of course I judge it. And in this pose here, I still like Matthew Grego winning this pose rather than Wesley Vissers. I think this is a better pose. He looks better.
Okay, so that's how you determine. Whoever, even though it's completely two different shots, somebody can be from the front or side or back. You judge what?
I look at both of them. I look at both of them and I go, which pose do I like better? And the pose that I like better is the one that I vote for the competitor. Okay. So I'm not really comparing, obviously, muscle group against muscle group. I'm just looking at those two different poses and I'm making a choice. This is the one that I like better.
All right, we got to move towards a wrap here, fellas. I think Matt Grego has a huge future, especially being so young. He's got a lot of ground, a lot of ways to improve. The work ethic is obviously there if he's training with Derek.
I heard they're training like a mad dogs. That Matt is super strong, super dedicated, intense. He pushes Derek, and Derek contributes his improvements because training partner is such a young lion like Matt.
They have a very strong connection. I saw, Derek Lunsford was talking about Matthew Grego, asking me about Matthew Grego in a way like, what do you think about my younger brother? And when Derek was competing in Pittsburgh, Matthew Grego was the loudest guy in the audience. They have a really strong connection. I love this bond they have with each other. They're both going to be at the Olympia. Who knows? Maybe one day they can both win, the Olympia, one in Open, the other one in Classic.
That would be huge. All right, Derek, we got to thank Global Formulas and talk about some of the stuff they bring to the table.
So Global Formulas, the owner is Jacob Frank. He's a friend of mine. He's been in the industry for over 30 years. He was the owner of supplement stores, and then he created his brand. His brand is called Global Formulas. This is possibly his most popular supplement. It's called Pro Zero. This is the only protein shake in the market that has no fat, no sugar, no gluten. It's just pure protein. My favorite is the vanilla. And you like the Super Freak.
Love
That's
the
your
Super-
favorite.
That's a heck of a pre-workout.
So these are the two most popular. I want you guys to go to www.globalformulas.com. Get your Global Formula supplement right now. We have a promo code. Just type in Primetime Muscle and you get your discount.
I love the heat and I love the endure as well. All good stuff. All right, like, subscribe, share with your friends. We love having new people join us here on Primetime Muscle. One of the new people we've enjoyed a lot. Hey, Milos. Man, it was cool having you.
It's good to be here, and I hope I come back.
You brought the real estate up a lot. I just wanted to share that with you.
All right, all right.
Derek?
It's been great. We're getting close to the Olympia. We spend wonderful weeks here with Milos. Milos, I want to tell you something from when I was a young man in Brazil. I was 14. I joined a gym and I saw the pictures of all these great bodybuilders. I saw your picture there and I said, I want to look like this guy, Milos Sarcev.
Like this guy.
I think he was the front double bicep.
Wow.
This is the iconic pose, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And
the
then,
one on the beach.
You know, I come to America. I had a chance to watch your career. Then, you know, you're one of the top coaches in the world. And right now with the podcast, you're super popular. I mean, you're in the Menace podcast. You're in the Cutler cast. We love you having Primetime Muscle. I consider you a great icon of the industry.
Thank you so much. As you know, I can talk bodybuilding all day long, and I can criticize my physique. Now, okay, can you criticize this perfection?
No.
It is like,
No.
yeah.
Does anybody go to Michelangelo?
Because I didn't turn my back.
We chose specifically.
Yeah, specifically.
Well,
Thank you.
I would say that I looked up to you as a young kid, and then I realized we're only 4 years apart. So I was close to your age when I admired you. I'm not going to say, hey, I was a young boy in a favela in Brazil, and you were a man in the magazines.
Yes, yes. That was me right there.
I must say this. I've seen Tim last night. It was like 1 o'clock his time. You know, you're on a different clock. You didn't eat. You came early to do the cardio. You had your meal. Right now, he brought his meal, broccoli and chicken, and he is in top shape, 57 years old. He even shaved to impress me. So he did.
I got to call a plumber, but it worked. Clogged everything. Folks, you're always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope your cardio was great. Wherever you're watching us, support us by subscribing to Olympia TV and Primetime Muscle. We'll see you on the next episode of Primetime Muscle.